Welcome to Uncommon Courtesy.
We give you the courtesy of conversation.
That's uncommonly spoke of.
I'm D-Mac.
I'm Wesley.
And this is the show. Don't forget to like, listen, subscribe. Shout out to all our subscribers already. We appreciate you for being here. Shout out to our sponsor, Crime Scene Seasoning. You can find that at doclovesthekids.org. All proceeds, 100%, go back into the community.
I also want to start the show off by saying rest in peace to my uncle, Benny. We love you, and we love the rest of the family. So, but let's get to it.
Yeah, let's get to it. Apologies for us taking a little bit too much time. You know what I'm saying? My children were a victim of gun violence here in Western Washington. And that also is something like kind of bothered. We were talking about it off camera, how there's so much gun violence out here now that the police and the news aren't reporting it.
At all. I mean, and it almost gets to a point to where you have to look at your local officials about that, because and this happened, in the, I don't know if you want to say that the cities or not.
It happened in Seattle and Tacoma.
Yeah, and these people don't want to report on these things. And this person shot allegedly
shot 7 people.
7 people, man. That's
a mass shooting. If it's more than 3 people, it's a mass shooting. They shot 7 people, drove away. No clear. I mean, he had nobody he wanted specifically to shoot. He just started shooting at a whole crowd. It's a mass shooting. It didn't even make the paper.
And they're not reporting on these things because they don't want you to look at them as, and mark these as numbers. We understand. Say there was 100 shootings, 150 shootings, and now they're not reporting on probably another 200 shootings at all. Because I know there's other shootings you were telling me about that.
Yeah, like especially in our city too. It's like, that we were having them two a week, and like they weren't even making the paper. There's no sound. Like you have to go to your personal crime watch pages to figure out what's going on.
They're just brushing them under the rug so that they can keep their numbers down, so people don't see the violence is actually not saying it's rising, but there's a lot more violence going on than what they want us to be aware of.
And a lot of people say, well, they don't want them to raise the property. They don't want the property value to drop.
And I'm thankful, and I'm thankful that your child is okay, and that they're able to continue to do what they have to do. But I know mentally they're not okay, because something like that would make anyone, wake up in the middle of the night thinking about it. This is a child we're talking about here. This is a young adult here, and they got to live with this forever. They got to live with the fact that they had to go somewhere to an event that they thought they were going to go and have fun at, a safe place for themselves, and someone just random act of violence and wants to get out and start shooting, and no one wants to. There's no reporting on this. There's no. I mean, I'm not sitting here. I'm always an advocate for pro police, but at the end of the day, do your job. Do your job, man.
Well, I think the whole thing spars from this too. It's like, I'm a pro gun person too. Absolutely. Yeah, I believe people should be able to own guns and stuff. But also, I believe the community should be informed about what's really going on in community. If they posted every crime that happened and that the police had to respond to or got a phone call about every day and just put it in the local papers, people in the communities would actually make their own kind of change. We would actually get more active. We'd start crime watches, neighborhood crime watches. We would start, educating people and putting more resources in our community. It can't be just the status quo and not report about these crimes so that people can sell houses for $600,000.
What do you think about just the gun lobby? What do you think about? Do you feel like there should be more of a crackdown? Because obviously,
no, I think like I said before,
not have had a weapon.
The person that probably had a gun is probably a felon. They shouldn't have owned a gun in the first place. Making more laws is not going to stop that person from obtaining a gun. Criminals are going to find guns. We don't need to attack law-abiding citizens. We need to inform law-abiding citizens. We need to protect law-abiding citizens. We need to make it so people can leave their homes and feel safe because they're law-abiding, tax-paying American citizens. And I said that before, and Ben Carson said it too. He's like, America needs to start taking care of law-abiding Americans. Mm-hmm. Or if you don't, we're going to turn on it. So we're tired of being the victims. Think about it. We had the man in Oakland. I don't know if we reported on that. A person came into his house armed with a gun, tried to rob him. The homeowner whipped out a gun. The guy ran. The homeowner shot him. And now the homeowner is facing murder charges. Why? Because the man was running away. He could have came back the next week with more people.
I remember having this conversation. But the biggest thing is that this is you and a family member of yours, your child has just been a victim of something like this, and for you to still hold the same stance means a lot. That's telling that it means that you really meant your original stance. It wasn't like you're not a.
I'm not going to change it because this happened.
Fair weather kind of a person who's saying, "Oh, because it's not happening to me, that the law is fine the way it is." But when something did happen to you, I mean, you still saying, "Hey, it's not the correct people who own the guns, it's not the legal gun owners.
No, it's the criminals that aren't supposed to have them in the first place. This man was a criminal. He shot wildly into a crowd, shot 7 people."
Yep.
He was a criminal. He's not a person that went out, legally bought a gun, legally had a background check, and was okay to have a gun and decide to commit a crime. And even when people that do that, you never know when someone's going to snap.
Are they afraid to talk about these things because it will make them do their job?
No, I think they're afraid because, like I said, once you start reporting on all the crime, the property value goes down. And you have investors, lobbyists, and people that are keeping all this stuff hush-hush. I don't know why they don't bring it up. You know what I'm saying? If the community knew that, especially out here where we live, if they knew that, hey, there's about 20 shootings a week, people will be like, whoa, what do we need to do and help as a community combat all this crime going on? It's
election year. It's a pretty big election year. People want to keep as many things. It's always an election. Don't get me wrong, but this is one of those major ones where you have, you got the House run, you got
these will be major. This election will have major consequences on our future
for
years to come.
And they're trying, and they're playing. They're talking like, oh, crime's down across the United States. And this might be part of the reason.
No, that is the reason.
Like it is.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, hey, there's a lot of crime. They're just not reporting on it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shootings, a lot of people, a lot of stuff going on. They're just not reporting on it. And it's who is this saving? Because we're all suffering as a community.
This is sickening to me, really, when to think about 7 people were shot, and we don't even talk about that. That like you said, it's a mass shooting. That's like it's like just like the guy who went and shot up 50 people. I know the 50 people didn't perish in this, and thank God that didn't happen. But there are 7 people shot, children, people under the age of 18 shot during this stuff happening. So I mean, what are we doing here as a community? If we're not talking about these things, if we're not actually trying to make ourselves better, hold people accountable, because I don't even know if this guy hasn't even been caught.
No. They said they had to get video footage from like local gas stations because where they're at, the area they were at, there's not a whole bunch of cameras there.
I'm the kind of person who's very, very anti snitching. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in telling on people, but at the same time, we got to start. People need to start. The community members need to start communicating.
Well, I mean, it's the whole thing like this. It's like they say, hey, you shouldn't snitch on this person. But if you're not living that kind of life where you're a street dude, you pay taxes, bro. That's what the police are there for. You're supposed to call the police and tell them when crimes are going on.
They say you're a civilian. That's what it is. Yeah. And it's really what you are. We are all, but I mean, you are really one. This is not your fight. This is not your, whatever this kid had going on, whoever he was angry with, whatever. To get out of a car and shoot randomly, even if he was shooting at someone in particular he had a problem with, you shot into a crowd of people, so at the end of it, you got to go do your time. That's what it is. I'm not saying turn yourself in, but they're going to catch you. I hope they catch you.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it, because you're not safe to be around people and people in the community.
No, you're a sensitive punk with a gun.
You affected 7 families right there, and it could have been worse, man. So, yeah. I'm happy and I'm sorry that happened to your family, man. I really am.
Yeah. Like it could have been worse. That's the whole thing. That's how I look at it too. Try to look on the bright side. So, but let's get into it right now. So, Russia warns U.S. of consequences after Ukraine strikes Crimea. Russia on Monday warned the U.S. of consequences and summoned its ambassador a day after Moscow said Ukraine strikes using an American missile on Crimea killed 4 people. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov called the strike on Sevastopol barbaric and accused Washington of killing Russian children. 2 of the victims were minors. Peskov pointed to comments by President Vladimir Putin earlier this month about arming countries to potentially launch strikes on Western targets. The involvement of the United States, the direct involvement as a result of which Russian civilians are killed, cannot be without consequence, Peskov told reporters. Time will tell what these will be, he said.
Yeah, these guys are kind of blaming us for their problem. That's how I look at it. I mean, so should Ukraine be angry with North Korea for giving you munitions to bomb them? Or should they be angry with, I believe they also, I know it's at least North Korea. I know also China. Should they be angry with them and want to bomb them for them guys giving you missiles? This is the reason why you can shoot so many missiles into Ukraine like you guys are, because you're getting them from other countries. This is why you have so much munitions, because you're getting them from other countries. We're arming them to fight against a foreign aggressor. That's a sovereign country, is Ukraine. You guys attacked them. You guys went across their border stating the fact that, we believe that NATO's getting too close to our borders, so you're going to attack your neighbor? And this is on you, because the actual bombs that you're saying that hit, were you guys intercepted those missiles with some of your anti-missiles. And it was fragments that actually fell to the ground. We watched the video.
Yeah, watched the video, yeah.
And so these were fragments. You guys could have blew these up anywhere. You should have blew them up over the water somewhere. That was on you.
Well, they kind of did blow up over the water, but some hit the beach, and the people were just on the beach, and a lot of people got injured.
I mean, and if you want to threaten America about what you're doing, because Crimea, we know that Crimea was a part of Ukraine until 2014. You know what I mean? So this is what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's actually Ukrainian territory that you've taken from Ukraine. So now you're angry about people who are former Ukrainians of land you took from them, and now you want to blame America. Now there's going to be consequences. I think there needs to be consequences for your actions. That's how I feel. Period. I know that's me being extremely biased as me being an American.
I think Russia's going to attack a Western country. That's just what's going to happen. It'll probably be America. Because, I mean, you can't, Russians ain't no punks.
I ain't saying
they wrestle bears.
But listen,
you know what I'm saying?
You ever seen those bear suits they have?
No.
The ones they got like spikes. It's like a total suit made of spikes. Like it's crazy. It's a bear wrestling suit. A bear is not going to want to deal with you. That's why they wrestle bears. It's not like that. You got to go look at the bear suits. But anyway, they don't want a problem with us, man. They can barely deal with Ukraine.
No, they can deal with Ukraine. They would have took out Ukraine. That war should have been out 2 weeks. Should have been over 2 weeks.
Man. You think okay.
If America China didn't arm Ukraine,
let's say Russia and China armed Canada. Can they cross American border and beat us?
What's Canada? Why would Canada want to do that?
I'm asking the question because this is pretty much the same fight that they're having.
Yeah, but see, that's the whole thing. We are arming the Ukrainians.
So what?
All right, we're arming, and they said, "Hey, don't attack no civilian places." They did. So now we got to deal with the consequences.
I understand. Anybody can arm any country. They can arm Mexico against us.
So that's like if my homeboy comes to me, he's like, "Yo, I got a problem with somebody. I need a pistol." Boom, I give him a pistol. Right. He goes out, pops somebody, and they be like, "Okay, where'd you get the gun from?" Right. And he's like, "Okay, I got it from my homie." You think they're not going to come back at me?
Right. Hey, listen, you're right. I can't. That was the best analogy.
That's exactly what it is.
I can't deny. I'm not saying
I'm part of the problem now.
Part of the problem.
Yeah. Oh, I know where he lived at. Here, you can hit these targets. This is a spy. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
You are the. Hey, listen, I agree with what you're saying 110%. But as an American, now I'm probably taking off my unbiased hat. As an American, I don't care. You can't beat us. If you do anything to America, this war will turn to something totally different. Then you're arming. You're basically setting up all of NATO to come against you. They're not ready for that. You guys can't. Like I'm saying, you can't beat Ukraine. Ukraine got like 30 million people in their country, man. Over 500,000 Russian troops have already been killed since the beginning of this war.
That's because they're having help from American missiles. If America and NATO weren't helping Ukraine, that war would have been over in 2 weeks.
I'm going to tell you right now, anybody could have helped Iraq at any time they wanted to. And they were actually after they were helping with armed insurgencies, and it would not have mattered. That's how strong the American military is. Man, Russia probably spends $100 billion. Right now they're spending more a year.
Well, no, see, in Iraq, America didn't care.
Billion.
America had a whole country of brown people they could blow up. They said, yes, go. Blow them up.
I mean, but
in Ukraine, they're trying to be, they're like, we're not trying to kill civilians. We just want to kill the armies and stuff. Well, some civilians got killed.
I'm going to tell you, because they want to occupy Ukraine. That's why they're not doing it, because they don't want to turn the total Ukraine.
Yeah, the only thing they wanted from Iraq was the oil. Yeah, so they'd be like, we can kill all the brown people, make them part of the desert. What they call them? Scorched earth? Scorched earth. They're going to turn them into glass.
Hey, I'm going to be real with you, man. And so it's just very important to me to kind of differentiate. I don't feel like Russia's, that kind of rhetoric they got coming out of there, man. It is concerning because you hear them say there's going to be retaliation. I know that our defense minister,
they are going to retaliate. Think about you in Russia, right? You'd be like, okay, America finally did something because they said they saw the American drones flying around. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You can't, and they said the drones is what helps guide those missiles.
Yeah.
So
they knocked down one of our drones. They said too. This is what
I'm just saying. It's like America just been dilling and dalling. That's like being online, like, oh, my homeboy did this to you.
We're not in Russian territory doing that.
It don't matter.
I mean, if we're helping these people,
it's like you playing video games. You playing Call of Duty online, and somebody in Florida's like, "Yo, you ain't gonna do shit. Pull up." You be like, "All right, I'm about to pull up." Well, they got the resources to pull up.
I don't know if they're ready for that. I just don't think they're gonna want to. They're gonna want to exacerbate this war that much.
I don't think they care. I mean, at this point, after a while, the nuke's gonna start flying.
You think so?
Yeah, of course.
Man,
think about when anyone's back is into the wall. And you ain't got no other way to get out, you like, well, if I'm going down, everyone's coming down with me.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I feel like, okay, China's already told nobody wants nuclear war because there's too many problems going on right now. You bring out the nukes, everybody's bringing out nukes.
Yep, and it's going to be a whole bunch of nukes.
That's a big one. Sarah Netanyahu accuses Israeli army leaders of staging coup against her husband. The wife of Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has accused top army officials of attempting to orchestrate a coup against her husband. These accusations were made during a private meeting last week with several families of Israelis held captive in the Gaza Strip. The Israeli newspaper Haaretz reported on Tuesday. According to Haaretz, Sarah Netanyahu said that Israeli forces were seeking to stage a military coup against her husband. The report added that when some family members interrupted, suggesting she should not claim distrust in the Israeli military, she clarified that her distrust applies only to senior army figures, not the Israeli army as a whole, insisting more than once that the army brass wants to stage a coup.
You know what? Like, I can understand her. She's married to the monster. So she's like, look, you can't take his power because she's probably going to get locked up with him.
Yeah, man. I mean, if we look at how things have been going, Gallant, who's the defense minister,
yeah,
you know, he just came to America and did a one-off. He left the war. He left the war.
War cabinet.
War council, war cabinet. He left that, you know, and also made a kind of a big deal about leaving it. Then all of a sudden, the defense force, the IDF, does a ceasefire, 11-hour-a-day ceasefire without consulting the prime minister Netanyahu. They made it, you know, unilaterally basically said, we're going to go ahead and give 11-hour everyday ceasefire so that you guys can bring in humanitarian aid. Then on top of that, Gallant just went to the White House. He just went to, at least came to Washington, D.C. by himself. Netanyahu didn't come with him, and met with Washington officials after Netanyahu went on TV and did that whole tirade about America's not sending the weapons on time. And they had a delegation coming over to meet with Americans from Israel. And they turned them around like, hey, we're not having a meeting now.
Yeah.
During that time. But all of a sudden, I think it was this week, Gallant comes and meets with him. Or Gates. What's his name? Not Gallant. His name?
Gates. Gantz.
Sorry, I'm sorry about that. Gantz. He came and met with him himself. And so, I mean, I think she has a valid point. Then you look at, remember when I think it was a spokesperson for the IDF came out and said that Hamas can't not be eliminated?
Yeah.
This is after the whole time. What has Netanyahu been saying? Our goal is the elimination of Hamas.
Yeah.
Until that happens, this war can't.
Well, he says that because he says our goal is the elimination of Hamas. Because then he's going to be like, well, these people could be future Hamas, so we got to get rid of them. That was his justification of killing everybody. Yep. Now, everybody else in Israel, the war cabinet and all that, they're looking like, look, the ICC has stepped in. You can't run from this forever. Yep. You know what I'm saying? They're going to do, and they're trying to have the fight with Hezbollah too.
Yep.
And they're looking at what they're doing in Gaza. It's war crimes. They're going to be rounded up just like they did the Nazis. They don't care how old you is.
You hear what Russia said, man, when they were coming out with that statement, when they were talking about, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, you're good.
When they were talking about Ukraine and how they didn't want to, they said, we're not Israel. We're not bombing civilians. They kept saying that in the speech. They had a guy who was a major Russian part of the Russian brass came out and said that we're not Israel. We don't kill civilians. I mean,
even China came out today and they were like saying, hey, we need a ceasefire in Gaza.
Yeah, everybody's trying to become proactive and be more, because America's looking shitty on the world stage, man. Our whole entire, we're looking like shit on the world stage.
We're looking like the monsters we've always been.
No, absolutely. I mean, if we want
let's not, I'm not going to fool around. Ever since the inception of this country, we've done monstrous stuff to each other and people that we don't agree with and that don't look like us.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what I mean. I want to kind of pivot off this fact to a kind of a different story, and it's in Kenya. It's protesters angered by tax hikes storms Kenya's parliament. At least 22 killed. In Kenya, at least 22 people have been killed and dozens more injured as nationwide protests intensify against a highly unpopular tax hike. Kenyan lawmakers approved the bill Tuesday as police fired live rounds, rubber bullets, and tear gas at thousands of protesters who stormed Kenya's parliament in Nairobi, angered by the measures, which would skyrocket the cost of goods and services in Kenya to help pay off billions in foreign debt, including the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. Demonstrations also continue in other parts of Kenya. These protesters are in the coastal cities of Mombasa. So I think that this has a lot to do. Like, these things are kind of almost intertwined.
Yeah,
in a sense, because I feel like right now in Kenya, they're wanting their president out. They're almost calling for him to get out of office. I mean, and this is right after he's kind of made an agreement with us to go into Haiti and send in Kenyan troops into Haiti.
Yeah, they just arrived there yesterday, I believe it was, because they're waiting to meet up with the gangsters.
Yeah, and so
freedom fighters. I'm not going to call them gangs.
Yeah, absolutely, that's correct.
Exactly what they are.
If you kind of look at these things, it's almost like an Arab Spring. The Arab Spring is something happened in 2011 where Twitter was a big part of a lot of Arab countries, Northern Africa and Middle Eastern countries kind of rising up against their governments and kind of trying to overthrow their governments during that time. This is when a part of when Libya was actually overthrown. This is when Gaddafi was murdered by America during that time. I think Tunisia, a lot of other countries like that, they started rising up against. This is why Twitter became so unpopular with large countries like China and Russia. It was like, we don't want Twitter here. Fuck that. Get it out of here. Because Americans we were using that as a vehicle to kind of spread freedom kind of information, but who knows, disinformation or whatever it was. I feel like this is almost something that's happening now with this Kenyan thing here, because you look at what happened in Burkina Faso, Mali, and I think it was Niger.
Yeah.
France pretty much, those are all former French colonies. Russia came in pretty much, helped the warlords, or I won't even say warlords, the juntas, drive out the French who have been there for years, colonizing this place, basically stealing all the natural resources, making them sell the natural resources for under market price to them because they had deals set up there. Kick them out of there. Now all of a sudden you have this going on in Kenya when America has close ties with Kenya.
Yeah,
it just seems like this is because China is also pushing on them to pay them back their money. Kenya to pay
and
them
that's probably why they sent the Kenyan troops to Haiti. They're like, France is like, hey, get in there.
Part of the deal.
We kind of want that back.
Or even Kenya looking at America like, hey, we owe you money. I'm saying, can you help us out with this international military thing? Give us some money so we can pay off this stuff. We'll run cover for you guys in Haiti.
Yeah.
Send over some people who look like you ain't gonna be able to tell. You send over some Kenyan people, troops over into Haiti. You only gonna be able to tell by their suits. You won't be able to tell by their skin color. You send in some American troops over there, it's gonna look like Europe is attacking, another a Haitian, a black country, and that is not going to look good in the election year. So I just feel like there's something really big kind of going over here in Haiti. And I know that, it doesn't seem like it, but that's like I think we have a base in Haiti. We have troops in Haiti. Not Haiti, excuse me, in Kenya. And so I feel like it's a big thing. They're trying to basically they're trying to make it so that America has no presence in Africa, and that would be disastrous because Africa is one of the fastest growing continents, and it's already bad for us over in Asia right now because they got the BRICS nations and they got Malaysia just joined the BRICS. Everyone's all the countries that will be the wealthiest countries going forward are all becoming part of the BRICS countries.
They're tired of getting punked by America and their sanctions. Once they can get away from that, it's gonna the goods coming in from other countries. The price of the brick going up.
It's pretty much goods coming in from. It's pretty much countries of color that are kind of teaming up together. The only one there's not is Russia. Russia's like the odd man out when it came to this. They're like kind of like one of the little homies who like, okay, we let him kick it with us.
Yeah, like why is it's like why is that white guy with all the color folks? Because he crazy.
You know what I mean? And so this, I really want us to kind of pay attention to that as a whole.
Yeah, I have an article too that just popped up on my screen I want to talk about. It's about ruling coming how the Supreme Court's public homelessness ruling could impact Washington cities. This could impact everybody. A high-stakes ruling on homelessness could come down from the United States Supreme Court as soon as Thursday. The decision on Johnson versus Grant passed would decide whether to criminalize public homelessness. Cities could punish people for sleeping outside in public, even when no shelter space is available, if the decision is overturned. The consequences could result in fines or jail time. This is the most consequential decision relating to homelessness in my lifetime. Professor and director of Homeless Rights Advocacy Project at Seattle's University School of Law, Sarah Rankin said. This is crazy. You want to punish people that can't afford to live in these cities because you've jacked everything up. You want to put them in jail.
You want to basically spend another $40,000 to take care of them just because they can't take care of them.
It's bad enough that I saw a bench the other day where it was like, they're putting it was a homeless bench and they cut out the middle so a person with a wheelchair could fit in there. And someone was like, yo, a person in a wheelchair ain't trying to look for a seat, homie.
And the cool part about this is that they're gonna blame it on they're gonna say, oh, these were democratic. These are only gonna happen in big cities. Yeah, most people live in big cities because nobody's gonna care that in the country somewhere or in rural areas that you're sleeping on the side of the road somewhere, in a farmland because no one's gonna see you. Of course, in larger cities where there's huge populations of people, this is going to be affected more. And so that's part of life. That's kind of what the world's about. And so it just seems to me that that we're not really paying attention to how these things play out. You take a person off the street, you put them in jail. That's costing us money. Would you rather put him in jail where you know that this is going to be a reoccurring thing? It's going to happen this thing called recidivism.
And this is going to cost money to do that.
Yeah.
Think about it. You could take that money and actually give homeless people housing adequate care, places where they can get clean if they're on drugs, mental health. You can give them a job with that same amount of money. You're like, nope, we're going to lock them up. And that's what we get for having private prisons.
Imagine, okay, say 25 people, that's about $1 million right there, because it's about $40,000 per person per year to lock somebody up. You got $1 million. With $1 million, you can build something. I'm not saying for everybody, but that's only 25 people. Now add it to 25 more people who you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
How many different facilities can you build to house these people? And then also with you can also rehabilitation. Okay, now we're going to try to help you get some jobs, maybe help you with some mental health things. I know there was an article I had read that they said that, I forget the city it was, they gave them $1,000 a month or something for like a year.
Oh, I saw that. Denver.
Yeah, and they said like 40% of the people, 45% of the people, maybe even 55% of the people came back a year later and they had housing. You know, and
I believe it was Denver. Yeah, I read the same article. They gave $1,000 a month, I think it was something like that, and they ended up having housing. They got into places. They got their lives together.
Yeah, you know, because you give them an opportunity. People, it's not going to be a perfect science. I mean, give me 50% of these guys. Then what about the next time around? You probably can catch another 50%.
Well, the thing, it also goes back to the people that are advocating for the homeless too, because if they fix homelessness, where's their job at?
I mean, but it's like, okay, then take them. If it's not about fixing the homeless. Take those same people and just move them over into this next area, because you're going to create another kind of form of, I guess you want to call it welfare, whatever you want to call it, because it's either going to be criminal welfare where you want to put people in jail, and that's not the place you want people, because it's going to create, like you said, a person who's next thing you know, I forget, you said one of the funniest things on the other episode, man. It was like, either they're going to be taking a hit from the pipe, or they're going to be hitting you over the head. Something you said, man. It was
like they're probably going to be hitting the pipe or hitting you over the head. Yeah, hitting you over the head with a pipe to get the money for the hit.
It's not funny, but it's hilarious.
It's real stuff, though.
It's just real spill. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's either you're going to put them somewhere where they're going to become more of an animal, or you know what I'm saying, or an animal, or you're going to put them somewhere where they can actually start to kind of heal their lives and kind of become a functioning member of society, where they're not a burden on a tax burden for us.
But it's crazy, man. It's like, for me, it's like, I remember I was homeless once for a small period of my life. And I'm so thankful that was back in the early 2000s that I had to experience it, because I was able to go somewhere, stay somewhere. And 2 months later, I had enough money to get my own place. Nowadays people can't bounce back that easily. Yeah. There's not enough. You got a job, you can get a job. You should be happy you have a car that you can sleep in, but you don't make enough money to afford to live anywhere. And nowadays you're punishing people because you won't regulate the rent. You won't regulate it so the housing market isn't all crazy. You won't regulate it so the food prices aren't crazy. McDonald's is trying to compete with Wendy's right now. Oh, we're going to give you a $5 meal. Wendy said, well, bitch, we're going to give you a Frosty, because we've been giving people this $5 Biggie meal. You know what I'm saying? It's like, people, we got to stand up. I believe we need to call on general strike. Think about it. You go to Subway, it's $30 for 2 sandwiches. We used to get $5 footlongs. It's $30 for 2 sandwiches.
They just dropped grocery prices. I mean, not across the board, but they've been dropping. They put out an article that they're dropping grocery prices by 30%, like Amazon Fresh, Target, Walmart. 30%, man. Where'd that come from? You can't people who own businesses and people who just have just things that they sell. You understand that's your profit margin. If you can drop it 30% and you're still able to make a profit.
Check this out. I remember when this was 10 years ago, gas prices hit $5. You know what I'm saying? That was just astronomical back then, 10 years ago. So what people did is they stopped driving. They got bikes. They took public transportation. They started carpooling. You know what happened? The gas companies lost money. You know what they did? They dropped the gas prices back to $2. Once people take a stand and say, we're not going to take it. Once people actually take it, like I'm saying, we took a stand as a country. We said, we're not going to do this. So we found alternate ways, and the companies bent the knee.
They had to. There's nothing they can do about it. I hear about it all the time, and I wish that people would start to pool together and understand that we have more power than what we give ourselves really credit for. We think that things we allow headlines to kind of take us in one direction or the other. Or Democrat or Republican. I do that too. I won't say that my hands are clean. I do it a lot as well. But we as a people, we vote for what is actually happening. Everything that's happening is our fault. We have to take blame. Yeah. For what's going on. That's
actually not really. Look, check it out. Here in Washington State, we voted for $20 car tabs, right? The whole country, the whole state, $20 car tabs. And then the people in Washington or in Olympia were like, nah, y'all can't have that, and took it away from us.
That's factual. We did. The guy, Iman, whatever his name, Tim Iman, when he ran and he helped get that passed. That's a fact, man. That did happen. I mean, it happens. That does happen. So there's nothing we can really say about that.
So now I'm thinking we should have just stood up as a state and been like, nah, bruh, because we voted for it. And then they said, nah, you can't have it. Yeah. Because it would mess with their revenue.
Let me, George Latimer defeats House Squad member Jamal Bowman in historic New York Democratic primary. New York Rep. Jamal Bowman lost his Democratic primary to Westchester County Executive George Latimer, making the first defeat for a member of the House Squad of progressive lawmakers. The result in New York's 16th congressional district is also a victory for pro-Israel groups, which backed Latimer with historic levels of spending during the campaign. According to ad tracking from Ad Impact, that race was the most expensive House primary on record. Bowman, 48, a former middle school principal in the Bronx, was first elected in 2020 after unseating a longtime Democratic rep, Elliot Engel, a pro-Israel hawk, in the primary. The race, much like this one, centered on accusations that incumbent had lost touch with the diverse but heavily segregated district, which spans parts of Bronx and Westchester counties.
That was the one that you were talking about. I thought that was in Oregon, but that was in New York, correct?
Yeah, that was in New York, man.
Yeah, where they spent $24 million because he wasn't pro-Israeli.
Yeah. It was like they came out, they saying that this guy, they spent basically $23 million. They ended up spending $23 million to unseat this guy because basically he came out and said, let's stop the ceasefire. He asked for a ceasefire, and everyone's got angry with him. Because this district is heavily Jewish district. And so I kind of look at him like, bro, what were you? I understand you wanted a ceasefire. I get it. But you know where you're running at, because this district is like probably 80%. It's like 5 or 10% of his district is in the Bronx. So you don't have a huge vote of people that look like yourself. The rest of it is kind of like Westchester County, where this guy, which kind of looks like this other guy who we ran against, which is a European guy, a Caucasian. And so he needed to understand where he was at. And they also ran ads against him, basically saying that he was against the infrastructure bill and a bunch of other stuff, which he voted against. But he came out and he said that he's like, hey, I didn't vote against the bill because just voting against it. It's because they took out the free child care, took out the money for kids, for people who don't have a lot of money are going to give free child care, and money for people who can't afford, like mothers, are going to get a certain amount of money per month. You wanted those provisions put back into the bill. And so that's what he said. He thought they were going to run 2 versions of it, but they only ran 1 version of the bill. Yeah. So basically, they were able to run ads just chipping away at him. They spent $23 million
on a primary.
On a primary race. Imagine
not even the election, a primary.
That's a crazy point, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of money just for to say, hey, we'll pick this guy. We have to, one day we're going to have to do an article about that, because I even found out, going back to housing, I don't mean to stop, but BlackRock, who's going around buying all the houses and making it hard for like Americans to own housing, is actually is a Jewish owned company.
I mean, most of these companies are, when it
goes back to when it comes to the CDC too, everybody getting them jabs. You get to look at all the directors, all the people running it. It's a lot of underground stuff, and they hide this
in plain sight. It's all hidden in plain sight. We have to look at most of the platforms that we are on are owned by these same people. I mean, it is what it is. You go look at Bill Gates. There's a lot of stuff that's right there in plain sight that we could really look at. And, at the same time, they said the people who helped him support that, people who also spent part of that $23 million was a group owned by, it's called Onward Together, by Hillary Clinton. She also helped push money onto him too, and also a guy named Nelson Peltz, who's helped kind of spend some of that $23 million, and who's a pro-Trump supporter. So think about that. The same guy who's a pro-Trump supporter helped you primary one of your strong Democrat House members out of there, and we just went along with it because nobody cared. Nobody wanted to take a stand about it.
Well, no one's paying attention. Most of the primary, you don't really pay attention to that.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, they picked this person, cool.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me, man. I just feel like it's too bad because when I looked at him, he wasn't a strong candidate. He did a lot of dumb stuff. I guess he at some school he pulled the fire alarm for some reason. Like they got him on video doing it. Like I don't even know why he did it. But
hey, everybody wants to pull that fire alarm.
I
want to see the fire truck.
He's a grown man. I'm like, what did he pull the fire alarm for? For what purpose? And just did it for out of nowhere. And they got him on video doing it. I was like, and then I seen him when he's at one of his rallies. He got OAC in there. And they also have
AOC.
AOC, my bad.
Yeah.
AOC.
Don't talk about my future president like that.
I think maybe.
Yeah, man, she could run.
I think, trust me, in a couple years, like I told you, I think we're gonna have a.
I'm trying to be her first husband. Trying to holla at me.
The first gentleman.
Yeah.
I honestly think she had a chance to win it too. But this guy, he's up there. He got his sleeves all rolled up. He's got a chunky little dude, got a bigger arm and stuff. I'm like, man, you got to know how to run for something, man. He's acting like he's revved up, ready to go. You should have been revved up before this, bro.
Yeah.
Okay. They got 23 million against you. You know what I mean? So
I would like they try to take me down. Hey, I want to talk about something that's just the craziest story. You know, like, and I mean, this is America 2024. Yo, wealthy white couple allegedly kept their black adopted children as slaves, locked them in a barn. Read this article to you. Wealthy white West Virginia couple forced their adopted black children to work as slaves and slept in a barn, according to these disturbing charges. Donald Ray Lance, 63, and Jean K. Whitefeather, 62, pled not guilty to more than a dozen new charges Tuesday after two teens were found locked in a crumbling shed in ratty clothing. Let's see. Lance and Winfield were first arrested in October after a wellness check led to discovery of a couple's 5 adopted children, ages 6, 9, 11, 14, and 16, living in deplorable conditions. They allegedly specifically went and got the children because they were black to put them into slavery on their property. The neighbors, they called the authorities on them 7 times with nobody coming out.
7 times.
7 times.
I mean, and we watched a little video on this as well too. And I mean, they said most of them said they couldn't even go in the house. They were outside sleeping on
concrete floors. They had no shoes. They had sores on their feet. They were forced to work.
They smelled really. I guess the kids smelled really bad. There was no bathrooms, no nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, no running water, nothing at all. So I mean, when you start getting to the point to where we're talking about potential, like, you know, slavery type thing, you look at the conditions that they're in. What are they forced to be in to do after that? Because I'm looking for, like, was there, not saying there was, we haven't heard anything, but was there sexual assault? What's going on here? Why are you asking for specifically black children?
And it says this right here, human rights violation specific to the fact that these children were targeted because of their race, and they were used basically as slaves from what the indictment alleges. So there's no question about it, what these people got these kids for. They got them, they're like, we're going to get some black kids, and we're going to make them slaves.
And where did this happen at?
West Virginia.
I mean, I ain't going to say nothing about West Virginia. We already had a conversation about West Virginia, but I mean, why are they giving it? I guess.
You know, hey, that's the whole thing, bro. It's like you just don't know. Like when people want to go, there's a lot of kids. It's not just black kids that are in adoption. There's a lot of kids that are in the system that need adopting. You know what I'm saying? These people just specifically went for them. Just like, you know, pedophiles, they go work in Boy Scout places and stuff like that. You just never know what's in somebody's heart until they do something. That's
crazy, man. 5 kids. It's not like these were brothers and sisters from what
no, they're just random kids.
Random kids. They let them have 5 kids. When did they're supposed to go do wellness checks on these kids?
Yeah, well, see, that's the whole thing. The system is so understaffed like that. Even out here, there's kids that are struggling and they don't have enough people.
And what were they saying? Like, this is the same state. I believe this state has I believe this state has a bunch of anti women's rights laws. We won't say anything else. Reproductive laws, whatever you want to call it. You know, so I mean, you guys say, "Oh, send them into adoption." They did.
Well, that's the pro-life crowd. They just want the baby to be born. They don't care if you take care of it afterwards.
They don't care about if you take care of it.
No, they don't. If they cared about that, they'd be like, school lunches would be free.
Man, I know people who've gotten the police called on them once. It didn't matter. The police was coming. They might kill somebody when they get there. But these people had the people called on them 7 times, man, with no results. They didn't. They had another kid. They said that was in the house that was like standing by a 15-foot drop. Like basically with a pole standing between them, like a little kid. I think it was the littlest one.
Yeah, it was the youngest one, just standing there crying.
Just standing there crying. I mean, so obviously, man.
Imagine the abuse that was going on. Imagine the police came, saw the kids, and the people just like, oh, they're fine. They saw the little black kids. They're like, whatever.
Did they go to school? I'm thinking like, did the kids even go to school?
Why would you let them? Why would you let your slaves? They're not supposed to read and write and learn to read. No, slaves aren't supposed to read and write. You got to kill them if they do.
This is crazy. If you saw the pictures of the people, man, I hope we can put them up online.
We can use
saw the pictures of them. You understand why I'm saying that they shouldn't have. There's no way in hell they should let these people have these kids, man. I don't care. You couldn't have cleaned up yourself enough to have these kids. I guarantee it. It didn't look right to me. Like you should be overly suspicious of a person's coming in asking for black kids anywhere, but in West Virginia, you need to be overly suspicious.
Well, that's the whole thing. What's the one guy that was he was killing the people? He was sleeping with the gay people and killing them.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer. The cop, the reason he did it in a black community, he lived with around the black folks because he knew the police didn't care about him and they would believe anything he said.
Yeah, and they did because there was a few times where they actually had they caught people made it out of his house.
They had the one guy, he was stumbling around. He was like, "Oh no, that's my boyfriend." And they took him back in the house. The neighbor called the police on him so much, the police came and arrested her.
And they're like, "Look, man, it smells over here. It smells like XY." They were in the house. He had a dead body in the house with him. Like they just walked out the house and let everything ride. But it's crazy, man. I'm gonna hit this.
Yeah, you're good.
Julian Assange secures freedom after reaching plea deal with U.S. leaving U.K. prison. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange could be just hours away from freedom after he accepted a plea deal with the U.S. government and was released from a U.K. prison. Assange took off from London's Stansted Airport Monday, ending a 12-year ordeal that saw him take shelter at the Ecuadorian embassy for 7 years, followed by 5 years in Belmarsh prison, to avoid extradition to the U.S., where he faced up to 175 years in prison for publishing classified documents exposing U.S. war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan. Julian Assange's jet has stopped in Bangkok to refuel before it continues on to Suspan, in the northern Marianian Islands, a U.S. Commonwealth in the Pacific Ocean, where he is expected to plead guilty to Espionage Act charge of conspiring to unlawfully obtain and disseminate classified national defense information. He will then fly to his home country of Australia to be reunited with his family. Julian's wife, Stella Assange, spoke to Reuters earlier today. He was actually released. I know that did happen today. He was actually released. He was
released and he just go to Australia.
And he's in Australia right now. He's
the
done
time
now.
served. It's over.
He should have got some time, man. I don't care. If you still, I know they're trying to say this is journalism. Yeah, okay, maybe we needed to know some of this stuff, but so what? You stole. If anybody else steals secrets, they're going to jail.
Yeah.
He should be in Gitmo. Period.
Yeah.
And Ecuador is not. Right now we cannot claim Ecuador to be a friend.
You know what's crazy? America runs smoothly, so we can sit there.
I have no problem with that.
So I'm saying America runs so smoothly, and there's so much stuff going on that we don't know about. So it's smooth, so we can go to the movies at night and not have to worry about getting shot up. We can go to a beach and not have to worry about bombs getting blown up unless it's our own civilians. Yeah. People in America need to shut your ass up and realize this man should have went to jail. I don't care what they uncovered. There's a lot of stuff that goes around. There's a lot of stuff America punks around the country, the world, so you can be on Facebook complaining about it.
Hacked and he stole information, period. I think there's another guy too, the one who turned himself into a woman. I can't remember his name. He was like I forget the guy's name. We'll be able to hopefully be able to put something in there about him later.
The Jenner guy?
The general. He was like
the Jenner.
No, not.
Oh, okay.
Not him.
Because he killed somebody in a car, but they let him slide.
Just like a military guy. He actually ended up turning himself into a woman, but he's
still in the military.
Information secrets too. Who are you talking about?
There's a general.
No, we got rid of this guy. We got rid of this guy. He's not in the military anymore. He leaked a lot of information as well too. But if you steal American secrets and pass them to our enemies, no matter what,
you should be jailed for the rest of your life.
Period. I know some of the things, like when they hacked Hillary stuff and they got all the things about what happened in Libya with Gaddafi. Yeah, we want to know that stuff. But at the same time, though, these are American secrets. These are things that we need to be able to keep under the cup, and maybe we release them in 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah.
We don't release them to the public like this guy. They let him stay in the Ecuadorian, what was it? The Ecuadorian
embassy.
In the UK for years. This is the same Ecuador who just ran into the Mexican embassy in their country and took out their vice president because they say he committed a crime. But we got this guy right here. We know this guy committed a crime, 175 years worth of crimes that he did. And now he's skating. We couldn't release Tukey out of prison. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get out. He was on death row. We killed him. This dude might have led to
Meek Mill had to go to jail for popping a wheelie.
You feel me?
I'm just saying.
This might have helped lead to Arab Springs, and who knows? I know that some people were killed in Libya. When they raided the U.S. embassy over in Libya. So was he a part of that? Were any of these leaks led to any of that? So there was death that could have came behind what he did.
Yeah.
So there's no way we should just be forgiving him and let him walk on this.
And what kind of president is that set for the next person?
Exactly.
They're
gonna do it, man.
Yeah.
They're gonna
like, hey, I can steal some stuff. We got somebody right now that's supposed to be running for president did the same thing, stole a bunch of documents.
Yep.
Maybe that's setting the president.
And they're trying to break him off some time, ain't they?
Judge Cannon, they were trying to get Cannon off that case. That's the espionage case for him. One thing I want to talk. He got the complexion for the protection. Anyways, he did serve 5 years though.
Who are you talking about?
Hassan.
He did it 5, but he also did 12 years inside of an embassy too, though.
Oh no!
12 years, hey, listen, 12 years. That's almost like prison, man.
Not really. You get to go outside.
No, you don't.
They still give you food.
You don't get to go outside.
Yeah, you got. No, you're on the embassy grounds. You go outside.
You know what I'm saying?
Go smell flowers, smoke a cigarette. Oh, you get to try something different every day.
I mean, unless
he door dashing food there and
Does
shit.
his wife get to go in there and see him? I don't know.
Yeah, of course. He wasn't in jail. He was just in there. He's still getting his dick wet.
More than likely he is, but I'm just saying 12 years in the same spot is like being in the prison, bro. You can't leave out of here. You can't go nowhere. It ain't prison.
Well, let me think about it. Do I get cool house arrest where I can pay for some nookie and get food every day? Listen, or do I go to jail and got to be around some guy that don't speak English?
You know that most European prisons are like that, though.
European prisons are nice.
Yeah, man. They get to go out and hang out with their families, and it's really what prisons are supposed to be like. You don't have to, and they got hardened criminals living like that because they're trying to rehabilitate these people. They're not just saying, let's put you up in here with all these men. You can't have these pictures anymore. They don't even want you looking at pictures of women anymore in prison. You're not allowed to get pictures of girls, none of that stuff. Why not, man? What do you want these dudes to be in here and come out of here? They
don't want you to get your dick hard, and then you're like, damn, I need something in here. And then a cellmate walks by, and he got an ass like my third baby mama. You know what I'm saying?
You think that's not happening already?
Come here, Tony.
You think that the picture does that? Maybe they do. But what I'm saying is it's going to happen regardless, man. But you would rather a person have urges towards, like what they already was. That's just me. I mean, let these people not turn into animals. That's how I look at it. Because whatever you are, you are. But I'm saying, let's not let these people turn into straight. I'm not saying by doing those things that makes them an animal, but by not giving them connections to things, not giving them a human connection to like, oh, I can't even look at a woman can't even send me pictures like this anymore. I can't even look at pictures of women like that anymore. You know what I mean? It's just crazy to me.
That's American jail though. Let us know what you think. Like, listen, subscribe. Thanks everybody for viewing our shows. Uncommon Courtesy.